So, picking up on this idea of hypergamy that seems to be so ballyhooed and talked about these days, and it's kind of the fulcrum, I guess, to this whole talk about status. Especially in regards to men. That's swirling around in the culture. We seek status, and it's the Darwinist kind of evolutionary biology, kind of common sense point of view that men we seek status so we get the best mates, and women are all hypergamous and they're looking for this small select group of men, and et cetera, et cetera. But um, whatever truth there is to that, I don't think that we've ever had an ethic that was so intent on emphasizing kind of a very a narcissistic and acquisitive attitude towards relationships for one thing, but towards pretty much everything in general. And I mean, we're talking about, I think, our more basic instincts when we talk about these tendencies, and I mean they do exist. They're always under the surface. They're always lurking, and they might have served some kind of a purpose. And we might have lived with them throughout our whole evolutionary history, or whatever, however you want to look at it. Um, but we've also had a counterbalance, I think, and cultures of the past have always had like a higher value or a concept of like the sanctity of life, and the sanctity of relationships, and looking at people in general as being manifestations of some of a creator, or some kind of higher intelligence, and something that our personal interests are subservient to, and therein lies the sanctity of why you would want to treat human beings as you would want to be treated, as the saying goes. And I think that uh, when we're talking about all this playing of games, and this particular emphasis on hypergamy, I mean we're talking about a situation in which both men and women are playing games with each other, because both men and women don't seem to find any security, or any sense of security, or any underlying ethic that the other person that they're interacting with would value them in any particular way, other than a reason that's purely acquisitive, and purely for whatever it is, personal gratification or status symbol. And it just comes down to, like, why are we orienting this way, and why are we thinking this way? I mean, like, even people like Jordan Peterson, he, I think he's right. I mean, I admire his I admire his perspectives on so many different things, and what he's been able to suss out and to kind of bring to the attention of the wider culture, very deep philosophical concepts, and being able to present religion in a way that I think makes sense to people in the modern day, and more relatable. But I mean, he is correct in his whole idea of saying, the postmodernists have this idea that status is only contingent upon power, and hierarchies are only contingent upon power, and if somebody has like a position of authority or a position of greater responsibility, or a position that I guess you would look at and say you're placed above other people, it doesn't have solely to do with power, but it has to do with competence, and I think that is correct. That's a correct assessment, but I think the emphasis on that being hierarchy, that being status, as if that is the primary value. Um, I don't, traditional societies, if you look at how we built up our societies in Western civilization, and the industriousness of the last couple hundred years of how we've been able to put ourselves in the position that we're in now, it was a lot of that. I mean, a lot of that work was done by people who had like a Christian ethic, who believed that they were doing the work of a greater power. They didn't, the primary motivator wasn't my status, my acquisition, my position in a hierarchy. I attain a particular position because I am serving my community. I am serving the people that I am coexisting with, and I acquire particular skills that are valuable because I'm in that service. And I think that's lost. I think that's even lost upon Jordan Peterson, people like that, which is kind of funny, because at the same time he does emphasize those things, but it seems that his primary focus is on hierarchy and status, and you know maybe it's a little bit of projection, because it isn't hard for Jordan Peterson to look at himself and see himself as at the top of some kind of hierarchy. I mean, there's only one Jordan Peterson, right? And there's only one, there aren't too many people that others listen to and think are such a big deal as him. Not trying to be snarky or anything like that, but I mean, it's the truth, and we're all prone to that, right? We all have our blind spots. He'll talk about the lobsters, and the lobsters, when one drops down in the hierarchy, it's been shown that their serotonin isn't, their nervous system responds in a way that indicates stress, and so and it seems like his whole conclusion is that um, well-being is solely contingent upon position in a hierarchy, and well, of course, his view is you're in a particular position in a hierarchy because of competence, but I would back that up and just say, okay, well, you know, I acknowledge, we all want to be doing our best. We all want to be living up to our potential, and we all want to be serving. I think fundamentally that's our greatest value as human beings, intrinsically. But what kind of attitude and what kind of mentality and what kind of orientation really helps us to achieve that at our optimal level, like all across society and all across the board? And that's where I really think that the presence of religion, or the lack thereof, is hurting us our uh, in our modern society. And I don't have any particular religious affiliation or view, but myself, even through listening to people like Jordan Peterson countless hours, some people have demonstrated very well what kind of role that religion has has played in making a healthy society and making healthy relationships between people, and having this concept of the divine and having this concept of a higher power, even in if you're looking to a religion like Buddhism doesn't look at what we're doing in this world and saying that it's the be all end all and that you have to push yourself to the top of a hierarchy. I mean, to them that it's all karma and it's all Maya. It's to some degree an illusion, and we're all beings that are dealing with ignorance on some level, ignorance of some of our ultimate purpose and reality, which is an interconnected one. Um, but all these acquisitive mentalities that we have nowadays really de-emphasize that, and I don't know how we get back around to that as a society, and what we have going on right now is just adding to the divide and conquer, and to the wedging people apart, and to the resentment, and to um, you know I think it's something very convenient to the powers that be. We've seen all their tricks. We've seen all the ways that they try to divide and conquer people. So, and I don't think that this ethic of treating other, having like actual compassion for people, and identifying with people's suffering, and not trying to push them down because you're trying to keep them down because you want to be at the top of this, of this status or this hierarchy. I don't think that's a weak thing at all, and I think that even the hardiest and the toughest warrior cultures, who were also, in some ways acquisitive, and they're and conquerors and things like that. And if you want to look at the Mongols, and their hordes, on horseback, taking all these, taking over all these civilizations of sedentary urban dwellers, and people who were living in settlements, and who weren't quite as hardy as they were. I bet they didn't have an ethic that was completely narcissistic and solipsistic, like the one that we have in our day. I bet they believed that they were serving something else. They were serving their ancestors, or they were serving some kind of spirits or some kind of gods, and they had some kind of concept of something above them that they were subordinate to, that they were serving, that their mortal lives were not the end all be all, and whatever they could acquire wasn't just solely for their own purpose. It was for a purpose of something that was a little bit more intangible. So um, yeah, I'm just rambling on right now, but I just had to get a few thoughts across, and there you go. I just made another one of my talking videos. It's been a while, so, and everybody, peace out.